Hey there, Internet. Felix Finch here, and welcome to Underground Lucha Things, the Lucha Underground Retrospective, where I, somebody who, despite sharing the ring with many of these talents, have never watched Lucha Underground. But you know what? I almost can't say that because I have seen 21 episodes of Lucha Underground, and now we're on episode 22, Mask versus Mask, from April 8th, 2015. But you know what? I'm not alone. Joining with me from the Isle of Hawaii is the one, the only, the loose cannon herself, Angie FN from Midcard Mana. Angie, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you again for having me. I know the last couple times we've tried to record, schedule things have gotten in the way. Things are getting busier for me back over here in Hawaii, so I appreciate you working with me, man. I appreciate that. I know my schedule is pretty crazy, so thank you for having me.
Well, you're a teacher, and I don't even want to imagine what it's like being a teacher right now. I know I see George's tweets all the time, and it sounds like it is hell to be in your business.
It's definitely a very nebulous position right now, trying to figure out how we're going to start the school year up again. So it's a challenge. That's what I keep telling myself. It's a challenge. It's not a problem. It's a challenge.
Okay, I'm swapping.
But it's a problem.
Yeah, I'm swapping to your camera. Is that an Edge and Christian Bill and Ted shirt?
Yes, it was from the Pro Wrestling Crate. It was Wrestlers with Podcast. So on the bottom, it has the thing for ENC's Podcast of Awesomeness.
Oh, that is a great shirt. I love that so much.
I know. I love this shirt.
It is. We got distracted there, but you know what? Again, it's a great shirt. If you want some of my shirts, like this beautiful beast here, check out riscoflamecom. I had a birthday sale. By the time you're watching this, it's over. But hey, you know what? Now you can get it for the regular price.
If it's they should honestly pay full price because it's your birthday.
You know what? I screwed up. I did not put up an Underground Lucha Things shirt. I should really throw up the legally questionable Underground Lucha Things shirt. See how that goes. It's like similar but legally distinct is the phrase we use.
Yeah, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but speaking of matters, let's start off with the show. We open in Dario's office with Prince Puma and Conan, and Puma needs to find two people to join him on a trios team. Though next week he will face King Cuerno along with two surprise team members who will join him ringside in the main event tonight. And as they leave, that Dario also mentions that the Lucha Underground Championship just also happens to be on the line between Puma and Cuerno tonight. So we're getting a title match.
Kicking things off right away with announcing that that's the main event is the big title match and a reveal of a couple more trios teams, right? Because they're in the tournament to crown the next, or the first, I should say, Lucha Underground Trios Tag Team Champions.
For sure, and let's start off with one of those trios matches. Son of Havoc, Ivelisse, and Angelico take on the very lucha-centric team of Drago, Aerostar, and Fenix. And I don't see Katrina out here with Fenix, though Fenix is taking much longer getting down to the ring than his partners. Really taking the time to soak in that fame he has. Angelico wants to start, but Ivelisse forces herself in there with Fenix. And we get some interesting lucha things. At one point, Fenix stands on Aerostar's shoulder on the second rope, and Fenix then jumps, and I feel like it doesn't quite come off looking as cool as it meant it to. I love how physical the tags are between the heel team, since they obviously aren't happy with being in there with each other. The other antagonistic pairing of Drago and Aerostar is resulting in interesting story beats between the two as they try to one-up each other. It's a very energetic match, and everybody is getting everybody over at the same time. Does a really good job of that. Ivelisse leaves Son of Havoc hanging for a tag and walks away. Though to everyone's surprise, Son of Havoc is able to hit a gorgeous shooting star press on Drago for the win.
The win, yes. I've been waiting for this, not just this specific match, but this tournament in general, since you first asked me to be part of this show, because the trios tag team matches and the trios tag team belts were my favorites. I loved the whole concept of introducing that idea of a trios tag or a 6-man tag that up until this point in American wrestling hadn't ever really been talked about on a large or televised scale. And it is a big tradition in Mexico. And of course, now that we're a little bit more familiar with it, Ring of Honor has the Ring of Honor 6-man tag. New Japan has the Never Openweight 6-man tag. So I've been really excited. But also, I've been really excited because I remember the grouping of Son of Havoc, Ivelisse, and Angelico. And that was how I started to really like all three of them individually, rather than just the weird sort of love triangle storyline they had going on up until this point, or even, I guess, kind of in this during this point as well. But interesting that Son of Havoc really got to shine a little bit more here, with Ivelisse sort of, writing him off as soon as she saw the opportunity to be like, well, screw you guys, I'm going home. She took it, and Son of Havoc was like, nah, man, I'm gonna show you, I don't even need you. So I liked that. And I like the fact that this was the matchup. It was Son of Havoc, Ivelisse, and Angelico versus Drago, Aerostar, and Fenix, because these are two teams that aren't really established as teams. There's a lot of tension in the first team, and the rivalry between Drago and Aerostar in the second team, with Fenix also being a luchador, right, but not really having much interaction or much of a role in that storyline or that storytelling between them before this point. So it's, I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I like, especially now looking back and seeing where all of these people ended up years after. It's been really cool to look back and be like, oh yeah, you remember when this was going on? You remember this? I remember this.
Yeah, and like I said, it was kind of surprising to me to see how they're pulling this tournament together. And some seem like a hodgepodge, but it's working for me. They're doing a good job of telling stories on the micro scale. Oh, speaking of teams, though, kind of being hodgepodge together, we go to the back, and Conan claims to have found the perfect partner for Puma's trio team, suggesting Hernandez. Though apparently Puma also went out and found Johnny Mundo, which Conan is quite disgusted with, since, he's not to be trusted.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting that the two of them chose a different person. Is there tension brewing between Prince Puma and Conan? Who knows? But I mean, the relationship between Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo, as of yet, or I guess I should say at this point, has been more or less, friendly rivals. A lot more of the nothing but love sort of thing, where they've shown each other respect, and neither has really turned on the other per se. So that pairing makes sense. Hernandez is closer to Conan than he is to Prince Puma. And you see that relationship of their closeness and how it's sort of stepped on Fenix's toes in the past, especially with the match with Brian Cage, right? With Hernandez getting involved, and also kind of showing, like, hey, I'm here now too, so better look out. Not explicitly, but kind of that was the vibe that I got from Hernandez, because he's, you know, he's a worthy opponent. And who knows with how the relationship between Konnan and Prince Puma is, and Konnan and Hernandez, who's to say that it'll always be all love, like how it is so far with Puma and Johnny Mundo. So that to me was a nice little like tension moment of like, how are they going to work together? It's clear that both sides, or both Konnan and Prince Puma, have feelings about the choice of the other.
Yeah, we will see going on in the future. But next up, we have two friends going at it with Superfly versus Sexy Star. And they were in a trio team with Pentagon. Pentagon tried to break Superfly's arm, and Sexy Star made the rescue. And I love Sexy Star's almost like roller girl sort of attire in this match that she comes out to the ring in. And apparently Dario is punishing the two for being so buddy-buddy, but to ensure that there is no mercy, he makes the match mask versus mask.
Mask versus mask.
Yeah, out of nowhere, though, because, by the way, mask versus mask, the title of this show, this isn't the main event. It is an odd happening because, unlike most traditional mask versus mask matches where there's a storied history and that's the kind of final blow-off, this is just happens. So, okay. Both do get aggressive, with Sexy Star using a lot of Superfly's hair and mask to whip him around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does look great every time Superfly slaps Sexy Star and her hair just flies around too. Superfly misses a moonsault and loses in a super anticlimactic fashion with an Oklahoma roll. And Sexy Star doesn't want to remove the mask of Superfly, but Superfly, with all of his honor, demands that she do it. And as she tearfully removes the mask, we see that Superfly is a very pretty man. And
I was gonna say, it's not a bad looking guy.
Yeah, and as Sexy Star leaves, Pentagon Jr. comes in and gives Superfly a package pile driver before breaking his arm. But yeah, like I said, cool little match, but I thought the stipulation was super out of nowhere. I think I'd have liked it better maybe if I'd have liked it better maybe if they like had a couple matches where they like really kind of went easy on each other. Dario was unsatisfied, or even if they're not getting aggressive, he ups the ante to like no disqualification, but you know what, if they're staying in the ring, and then he says, you know what, mask versus mask, then have them continue the battle. I think that probably would have been a better way to tell this story.
I both agree and disagree. I liked the fact that it was a one-off, and I mean, even commentary called it out and said, now it's unusual that they're having a mask versus mask match so early in their sort of interactions with one another, because it is supposed to be like the ending of a story rather than the beginning of one. So I thought it was an interesting choice for them to do that so quickly right off the bat, because then, I mean, does that mean that this is squashed real fast and then they can move on to other stuff? Does that mean that there's going to be more to this later that maybe we're not going to be expecting because it is a mask versus mask match and that's really unusual to have so early? It leaves, for me anyway, it leaves a lot of options open for non-traditional lucha storytelling. Because, like how you said, and like how commentary said, it is weird that they have this so early, right in the beginning of their tangos with one another. And I also thought it was kind of an interesting, and I don't know if this is intentional, but an interesting sort of slight irreverence to lucha tradition, in the fact that they're just like, oh, well, you know, we're just going to do this like this. Not really much behind it, but which I am intrigued by because of how the show has been structured so far, with having it be very traditional in some parts and then very non-traditional in others. So I'm not sure if it was also like a sort of heel thing with Dario being like, yeah, I know this is Lucha tradition, but I'm the boss here and I get to say what goes.
Yeah, and it's a very, and again, that is another thing. It does help out the character of Dario to see that this is a very unstable man. You guys are fighting at his whim. So, you know, be careful with this man's a tyrant. But we go
Exactly.
but we do go into our main event. Prince Puma with Johnny Mundo and Hernandez versus King Cuerno with Cage and Texano. And Prince Puma does come out wearing a puma on his head, though it doesn't look anywhere near as good as King Cuerno's stag. And
yeah, no, I felt so bad about that because, like, conceptually, that sounds really cool, right? You know, you're gonna have the puma on your head, like how Cuerno has the antlers, and yet just it just didn't aesthetically come together. I think in the same way, it wasn't as close as I think they wanted it to be.
it looked like he was wearing a rug.
Yeah.
Like I said, great effort, not great execution. And like I said earlier, Cuerno's tag partners are revealed to be Cage and Texano. And so that means there's a lot of beef on that side of the ring. King Cuerno has a lot of targeted control of Prince Puma, including a great part where Texano is wrapped around Puma's ankles on the outside of the ring, just out of view of the referee. And Puma does get a huge second wind, and Mundo has an awesome parkour dive outside of the ring, where it looks like he kicks Texano in the head. And a bit of possible sloppy action gets control out of Puma's hands into Cuerno's. Puma misses a 450, which allows Cuerno to give a few suplexes. And I can definitely tell that this is Ricochet by the way he does that limp sit sell. Like, he even does it where he, like, his whole body's limp. He comes up into a sitting position before falling to the side. Hernandez gives Cuerno a bell ringer behind the ref's back, and Puma is able to put away Cuerno with a 630 for the win.
Another time, and I mean, I guess it doesn't count as much, but it lends to my questioning, my rhetorical questioning here, right? Of, Hernandez. Of course, Johnny Mundo, this isn't the first time he's tagged in, so to speak, and helped out Prince Puma when he felt like odds are stacked against him. I mean, this also isn't the first time Hernandez has done it too, but now Hernandez has it in a little bit of a different sense where it's a lot more of like, oh yeah, Puma, I got your back. I'm part of your crew. So it hits a little different to me from the time with Cage versus this time, and also looking back on the fact that, I mean, this wasn't a friend that Puma made himself. This was a friend that Puma was given. And he's seen Conan's sort of chess tactics as we go back to those string of promos, and maybe he's wondering what the play is here. So I found it very interesting. I also liked the reveal of Cage and Texano being the tag team partners. Interesting because there's a lot less explanation there as to how they came together as a team. If they came together as a team, maybe Dario sat them in their office, or sat in the office and was like, so nobody actually wants any of the three of you on their team, so you guys are a team. So who knows how that came together explicitly, but an interesting grouping for sure.
That actually would have been a really good way to put them together.
Right.
Anyway, Angie, what did you think of the show overall?
it's hard for me ever to find something I dislike enough about a show to really dislike the whole show. And again, this is another great episode to me. The standout, besides the trios tag, because it's something I've been waiting to revisit for a while as we've been talking about this, I totally forgot about the Sexy Star versus Superfly mask versus mask match. And getting to rewatch it, I think, with a little bit more knowledge now of the Lucha tradition, as I've watched other wrestling promotions, wrestling companies, and just wrestling sorts of matches, and learned a little bit more of that history behind it. It was definitely a lot more effective, or affecting, I guess I should say, to me than it was the first time around. Because the first time around, I didn't understand quite as much that significance of that sort of match. To me, it was just more of like a gimmick in the first time, but now understanding it in a different way the second time, it definitely affected me more. It made me much more sympathetic to Superfly, who was graceful even in defeat. He owned up. Sexy Star wasn't going to take his mask, and he said, no, take it. Here. You've got to take it. Take it off my face. This is the tradition. And knowing that they both respect that tradition enough to follow through with it, even though it was difficult, really, I felt was a great moment in storytelling for both of those characters. Now, is this the last time we're going to see Superfly? Who knows? Will Superfly still be Superfly without the mask? Will he be somebody else? Again, who knows? But yeah, that was, to me, the standout storytelling moment of the show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that, hey, if you're going to call it Mask vs. Mask, that maybe should have been the main event. I understand putting the title into the main event. The taste of trios we're starting to get, I think, is very good. I thought it was weird that they didn't, at least I didn't catch anything where they address Katrina being gone, like, because she's not there with Fenix. But this is also a good showing to kind of introduce us to Hernandez, because let's face it, not everybody watched TNA, and that's where you would have known him from. So we're gonna get to see more, and we now know that we now also kind of have Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma back, both being solidly on the heel side of on the babyface side of things, since you have the big beefy heels with Cuerno, Cage, and Texano. Which, even though Cuerno's he's not a big guy, the way he's presented is sort of as a powerhouse, and I look forward to seeing more of this. But you know what, Angie? Let everybody know where they can find you.
All right, so I am part of two different shows that are based here in Hawaii. The first one is Mid-Card Mana, and we've been having difficulties, like how I've been having difficulties recording with Felix here. I was trying to figure out what I should call you, but Felix, I think, is fine. So I'm not breaking kayfabe. But we focus a little bit on broader topics in wrestling, going through reviews of major pay-per-views, big current events, etc. And then in the other show I'm in, which we've also had some difficulties with recording, my schedule has been trashed. I'm very grateful that Felix has been super accommodating. Thank you again. Is Valley Isle Collective's Ringside, where we are usually focused a little bit on the goofier side of wrestling, making fun of each other, talking about why the backbreak is the best move in professional wrestling, stuff like that.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find me here at youtube.com/riscoflame. You can find this podcast on any audio podcast platform at just looking up Underground Lucha Things. You can find shirts like this at friscoflame.com. You can go to my Etsy shop, just search Frisco Flame, and you can see I have many pins and pops. I do enjoy my pins. You see I have a new board back here. Oh! And yeah, you can find us here every Wednesday and Friday, unless something happens, which recently things have happened, but you know what? We live through it. But you know what, guys? For Angie, for myself, peace out, party peoples. We will see you next time with more Underground Lucha Things.
Big bang.